There are some books that you read, and then there are some books that change the direction of your life. Not because they give you some magical formulas, but because they gently shift the way you think, the way you see the world, and the way you see yourself. Today, I want to share some 5 books that genuinely changed me. These books helped me shape my mindset, helped me through difficult phases, and even introduced me to the habits that I still follow today. And the interesting thing is, my journey with books didn't start because I loved reading. It started because someone pushed me into it. I was never really a bookworm. In fact, if my father hadn't pushed me to choose my first book, I would have never really discovered how powerful reading can be. But that one decision of choosing a book slowly opened a door to new perspective, a door to new ideas, and eventually a whole new habit. Reading slowly turned from something I was told to do to something I genuinely loved. And these 5 books played a huge role in that journey. The first book is My Journey by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Now, this book is really very special to me because it was one of the earliest books that I ever read. It's a small book, but inside it is a story of an extraordinary life. Dr. Kalam talks about his childhood, his success, his failures, his struggles, his scientific works, and the path that eventually led him to become the Prime Minister of India. But what makes this book even more beautiful and powerful is its simplicity. You realize that even someone as great as Dr. Kalam started from a very humble beginning. Reading it gave me a completely new perspective on hard work, dreams, and perseverance. And honestly, this book will probably always stay in the first place in my heart because it was the book that opened the door to my reading journey. What started as one book slowly became a habit and then almost an obsession. If someone is just beginning their reading journey, I strongly believe that this is one of the best place to start. The second book is Attitude is Everything by Keller. This is probably the 4th book that I read, and interestingly, it is the first book for which I actually started making notes. This book talks a lot about mindset, of how attitude works, of how mind works, and how the way we think influences the way our life unfolds. It also touches on the ideas related to subconscious mind. But among all the things, there is this one line that stayed with me, which says, treat every person you encounter with dignity and respect. It sounds so simple, but when you actually try to live by that principle, you will realize it's not that easy. In our daily lives, we meet so many people. Some kind, some annoying, some frustrating, who always tries their best to get on your nerves. In those moments, projecting calmness, dignity, and respect is not always easy. But this book made me realize that it's not just mere a quote, it's an attitude, and that attitude slowly shapes your character. The third book is The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And honestly, as I always say, this book is a pure gem. When I first read it, I became almost obsessed with it. I finished it in about a week, and during that time, I constantly used to think about the ideas inside it again and again. The author talks deeply about how our subconscious mind works and how our beliefs quietly shape our reality. He explains how thoughts repeated consistently start influencing our behavior, our decisions, and even the outcomes. For me, this book felt like the foundation to many mindset books. In fact, a lot of time I call it the Bible of mindset books. Some people think that ideas like these sound unrealistic or superstitious or too philosophical. But trust me, there's nothing superstitious, it's pure neuroscience. And if you truly try to understand the psychology behind the belief system and the mental conditioning, there's a lot depth in this book. The 4th book is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. And this book came into my life during a very difficult phase. Around early 2025, I was struggling with a severe anxiety, and it had reached its peak. My mind was constantly filled with worry, overthinking, stress, fear, anxiety, And then around March or April 2025, I started reading this book. And honestly, it gave me a huge reality check. And one of the biggest realization was that most of the worries we carry are actually created by our mind itself. They are not real problems, they are imagined possibilities. The book also provides so many techniques to deal with anxiety and stress. And no, it didn't fix anything magically or overnight. But slowly, after applying those techniques, I started noticing small improvements. And over time, things actually got better. That's why this book will always remain so important to me, because it came to my life when I genuinely needed guidance. The fifth book is Vedic Dincharya by Prateek Prajapati ji. I have been listening to Prateek ji since around 2021. Many people find his idea controversial, but I personally find a lot of wisdom in what he says. This book focuses on Vedic daily routines and practices, and in today's world where our generation has completely disrupted the natural rhythms like sleeping late, irregular eating, or constant digital distraction, guidance like these can feel like a reset button. The book is very straightforward. If you have ever listened to him before, you'll find the same tone and philosophy in the writing. And what I appreciate the most is that the book doesn't force beliefs on you. So even if someone is an atheist, they can still benefit from the practice mentioned in it. If someone sincerely follows the routine suggested in this book, they can generally bring their life into a better balance. And after that, there is one more book which is a bonus by him, which is the ultimate action book for Brahmacharya. It is one of the most celebrated books, and it is the first book I have ever read of him. So this is also a very beautiful book, and you should read this. In fact, if you're someone in their teens or 20s, you should have to read this. It has the power to actually save your 20s. Looking back, what I find interesting is that these books didn't change me in one dramatic moment. They change me slowly, one idea at a time, one perspective at a time, one habit at a time. Some books taught me about dreams and perseverance, some about attitude and character, some about mind, and some about mental peace, and some about how to live in harmony with life itself. Each book added a small piece to the puzzle of who I am becoming. At the end of the day, books don't change your life by themselves, but they give you new lenses to see life through. And sometimes all it takes just one idea from that one book to change the entire trajectory of your life. So if you're just starting to read, maybe one of these books could become your first turning point, because you never know which page might contain the idea that changes everything.